All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Cut to the Chase sports podcast. The whole deal. We bring unique insight and analysis behind your favorite teams, collegiate, professional. I mean, it's both tonight. I'm your host, Chase Yance, the only one that's going to be in studio tonight. Um, man, I haven't really been on, doing any shows over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, or anything like that. Really, ever since the Ravens, it was a really busy week doing a lot of shows then, which, resulted in objectively the Bengals season getting the air deflated out of. It was rough, but haven't spoken publicly about it yet. Um, I'll say this: the title of this, sports therapy, whatever you want to call it, that's what I called it. But actually, before we get into the bulk of this video, if you're watching, please like and like the video and subscribe to us on YouTube. I would really appreciate that. It really helps us a lot, and it notifies you guys if and when we release a new video or short or anything like that. Would really appreciate all of that and appreciate everybody that's been tuning in and that will tune in going forward. Man, so I'm looking at the last 12 days or so when I'll address it right now with Joe Burrow's injury, tearing some ligaments in his wrist that happened Thursday, November 16th, 2023. The second season-ending injury that Burrow has faced in his first 4 seasons in the National Football League. The significant thing about this being that he signed a 5-year, $275 million contract extension on opening night of the season on September 7th of 2023. It was a primed potential big year for Joe Burrow, and it was really unfortunate how things turned out because he had an injury-plagued season. Is Joe Burrow injury-plagued? Is he injury-plagued? I'll answer that. I don't think he's injury-plagued. Getting nicked up and all this other stuff, and appendectomy, just other weird stuff that happens. You can put that in there if you want, but I don't think he's injury prone. He started 50 straight games and won nearly 30 of them and went to, 2 conference championship games and a Super Bowl appearance, for crying out loud. So anybody that wants to throw the narrative that Joe Burrow is an injury prone, an injury riddled quarterback, you should probably get off the show. I will also say, it hasn't been necessarily great with him having to deal with the effects of the knee injury coming into 2021, but stayed relatively healthy. Guys get banged up. Guys get nicked up throughout the course of the season, and he's been nicked up throughout the course of these seasons, but he's managed and played through it. That's been the big thing. And no shade thrown at Lamar Jackson, but, the past 2 years, Lamar Jackson, the first year was a legit injury. I'd say both of them are legit injuries, but maybe he ducked. I don't know. And made a business decision last year in 2022, 2023. So that, we will never know. But it just shows that having an elite quarterback on the field changes everything. And I'll talk more about the Bengals in just a moment. But I will say, last thing on the specifically Joe's injury, the sport isn't as competitive without him, obviously. That's, an idiot could say that. But just think about what Tom Brady said on the Stephen A. Smith show a couple of days ago. There's a lot of mediocrity in the league. It's a lot of scheming. There's a lot of, there's a lot of very good coaching in the National Football League and putting players in the right positions. And that's nothing to, fault players on and, short them at all. But when you're looking at the special players of the National Football League, specifically at quarterback, the guys where you're like, we're going to have the game plan. It's going to be a handful to stop this guy. You're looking at Patrick Mahomes. You're looking at Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. Some other guys are making their way up like Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence of sort, but Joe Burrow's in the category because he possesses a quality that not many people in the NFL have at this moment, and it's hard to encapsulate what it is because it's the it factor. And it stayed with him his entire career. He gained it at LSU in whatever regard. And it's been a big reason why Joe Burrow has been super successful. He's got that dog in him. But again, Stephen A. Smith, I digress. I digress on this. Man, see, I'm trying to I got to bring a little more energy tonight with this being a sports therapy and trying to have some high energy. But really, the energy kind of drained me when the Ohio State Buckeyes lost for the third straight time against the Michigan Wolverines. It was a tough game. It was a close game. It was 30-24. It was almost everything you embodied in an Ohio State versus Michigan matchup. Very good matchup. Friends of the show, obviously, the guys on the show, Brady and Matt, went to the game. They went up to Ann Arbor along with Brady's brother Caleb. They went there and they sat row 5, at the big house. They were right up to the action. They saw everything clearly, and we all saw everything clearly watching on television. It was a classic, Northern football, Big Ten football, late November, a Saturday after Thanksgiving. That's what the game basically was. It was a great game by two really great teams, but they lacked great quarterbacks. I'm not going to throw J.J. McCarthy under the bus or anything like that at this moment. I'm not going to do that to him, okay? They won the game. He was a winning quarterback, first quarterback to beat Ohio State back-to-back years at Michigan and since 1990, 91. I mean, it was, it's pretty impressive. It's obviously been a long time since then. But I kind of want to stick out with Kyle McCord. Dude's not it. And we all know this. Ohio State there are some Ohio State fans that just saw it on Saturday. And I think a lot of us should be able to tell that the first game, maybe there's jitters from a player. Okay. That makes sense. Second game, trying to ease in. Third game, normally they get it by around the third or fourth game. His fourth game was against Notre Dame. So it was a pretty big spotlight. Notre Dame at night on NBC. And he led Ohio State down the field and we ended up winning the game. So that's a big thing. And, maybe it turns people's head like, oh, Kyle McCord's taking the right direction. A bye week happens and he comes out against Maryland. Here's what I'm trying to get at. This man had about everything you could ask for on a utility belt. All the tools in his back pocket, a deep running back room that consisted of, when healthy, Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, Chip Trayanum, Dallin Hayden. I never use Evan Pryor, but you get the point. They got 4 or 5 really good running backs in their room. The best football player, yes, the best football player in the country, and Marvin Harrison Jr. lined up out wide. Emeka Egbuka, who's a solid 2, very solid 2, who is looking to go in the first round of the NFL draft this year. We don't know if he's going to come back or anything in 2024, which there's a chance. But at the luxury, Cade Stover, who had a really good season at tight end, looking to be an earlier round pick, mid-round, whatever. He's going to go in the NFL draft, and he's going to make an impact on some NFL team in 2024. You go to Ohio State to play with the dudes, but the reason is this. If you go to Ohio State to play with the dudes, you got to be that dude. And Kyle McCord is not that dude. We've been fooled. Not even fooled. It's just they're he don't got it. I think we all saw that Saturday that he don't got it. He had some big throws at certain times of the game. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them to Marvin Harrison Jr., who can make any quarterback look good, which apparently made Kyle McCord look really, really good in high school. And maybe rode the coattails to get to college on it. But I'm not saying that Kyle McCord is some trash quarterback. He's just not a good Power 5 quarterback. It's the thing is, if you got all these weapons, you got all these Ferraris, and you going 35 on a 55, sporadic, I'll go 35 and a 55. Then I'll go 75 and a 55. And that's where you get trouble. Not to mention a quarterback that has no pocket presence. Huh? What's going on here, man? What the hell? Like, dude, how do you play quarterback with no pocket presence or no movement whatsoever? You can't be a statue nowadays playing quarterback. You can't. Not a pocket passing league or in college football. So even college football, I mean, that's where all the runners are. You see all these quarterbacks try to run the football in college. In the NFL, they kind of tone it down a bit, but you've seen some design runs and guys that have to get out of the pocket and make plays on third down and be real opportunistic. There was no opportunity for Kyle McCord at all in his regard. There were opportunities to get out of the pocket and get a 3rd and 4, get a 3rd and 6, maybe take off on 2nd and 8 when you roll out of the pocket on a rollout and try to get a couple of yards, making a manageable 3rd down. You get the 1st down, okay? But he ain't do that. He had no awareness around him, and that's really frustrating to watch as a fan. And I know a lot of Buckeye fans for that. And, a lot of people have their thoughts and opinions on it. Ohio State's not done yet with the rankings coming out tonight, being the number 6 team in the nation, behind the likes of Florida State and Oregon. So they're obviously going to need an Oregon loss and a Florida State loss come Saturday to have any chance to get in the playoff. And I know they're ahead of Texas. No, we're ahead of Texas right now, but would certainly help the case if Texas were to lose, being a 1-loss conference champ versus a 1-loss non-conference champ. But again, that's a different story for a different time. But another big thing in this was losing the line of scrimmage. That's something Ohio State has lost the last 3 years, resulting in the last 3 losses against Michigan. Ohio State ran the ball 28 times for 107 yards, averaging 3.8 yards per attempt. They didn't run the ball necessarily terrible. There were just some times and inopportune scenarios where Ohio State got put behind the sticks and they had to put the pressure was put on Kyle McCord. And we've seen in the Notre Dame game that, when Kyle McCord had the pressure on, he made some plays down the stretch, but in a game like this, definitely did not. McCord should thank Notre Dame for dropping the game-ending pick. LOL. Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, it's actually it's unbelievable. I'm not gonna lie, I was really surprised that he made that game-winning drive, but move me. I thought a little more higher of him, but never got too high on Kyle McCord, which that's a sentence that I should just never say. Looking at it, 156 rushing yards for Michigan on 39 attempts, averaging 4 yards a carry. They kept the run game active. They kept the run game a point of emphasis, focus. They were able to run for 4 yards a carry and set up 2nd and 6. And it's like, hey, we can run the football again and make it 3rd and 2. And now we have every tool, everything in our tool belt that we can pull out on 3rd and 2, And it starts with getting ahead of the sticks. It starts by running the football, controlling the line of scrimmage. And I think that's a big thing that people need to, I think people understand it, but realizing that running, not just running the football 40 times a game, but running the football in creative ways. I'll talk about that more of the Bengals because, I got a lot to say about that. But owning that line of scrimmage when it comes to rushing the football and having the defense, just, we got to focus on the run. We got to do this. And then what does that allow? Play action pass. Everyone's really aggressive. We can throw it over your head. That's what it allows. And Michigan was able to do a little bit of play action. They were in the shotgun quite a bit. They were 3 for 3 on 4th down. They were just able to stay ahead of the sticks and really just stay on schedule and just keep these drives going. Let's say Boaz, let's go. Yeah, all right. But yeah, not gonna say go blue, but it's Michigan was able to do their thing. And again, it just comes to controlling the line of scrimmage. And I'm just gonna say this. The narrative, I think a lot of people see Ohio State as a very toxic fan base, and there's no fan base that's perfect. There's none of that. Okay. I'm not going to say that any fan base is perfect or anything like that, but I will keep it a buck. I'm not going to say that Ohio State has fans, that we have fans that switch up easily after a loss, but there's a lot of commotion whenever the team loses. When it does. I'm just going to say it gets old, but losing a big game like this, I understand where that can come into play. Is it all Ryan Day's fault? There's significant blame that should be put on him, but I'm not going to say we should just blame the entire game on Kyle McCord, but Kyle McCord made 2 turnover. The second turnover, he had to go make a play, and Michigan ran a really good type of coverage where I think it was cover 1 robber. They dropped the guy back, and then you had Rod Moore from Northmont came down and made a really nice play on the football. It's just the inopportune turnovers that that Kyle McCord made, and the getting behind the sticks. People may go on ahead and say, oh yeah, Ryan Day's play calling was terrible. It was suspect. There were some plays that weren't necessarily the best, but when you're put in a situation when you're behind the sticks, your menu gets a little shorter. You go on a diet when it comes to play calling. So, it obviously makes it tougher when you're not on scheduled or ahead of scheduled. Buckeye fans are like Steelers fans, fire everyone when they lose a game. Well, see, obviously we'll talk about the Steelers in a little bit. There is some truth to it. There is some truth. I will say the Steelers have lost a decent bit of games, over the last couple of years, and they really haven't fired anybody. Matt Canada, we'll talk about him in a minute. Let's see, facts, fair weather fans. I don't know about that one, but there's I don't surround myself by a bunch of fair weather houses. Obviously Brady and Matt are diehard Buckeye fans, and they keep it legit. And I know a lot of people that are diehard Buckeye fans, and they keep it legit as well. So there's always fans in every circle that are some idiotic fans. There's some, delusional fans, fair weather fans, diehard fans. That's the worst part about being a diehard fan. There's a great part and there's a bad part. The great part about being a diehard fan is the fact that when your team is winning, it feels, in a sports fan sense, I don't want to let this affect your daily life, but as a sports fan, it feels awesome. But when your team loses a big game, it's like, damn, that is rough. That's a rough thing to recover back, as a fan of a team. So, that's a big thing there. Yeah. So my Bengals. Whew. So the last win the Bengals had, I was here in this apartment. Sunday Night Football, November 5th, 2023. A little over 3 weeks ago, 23 days ago. See, with that was the Bengals' first ever SNF win on NBC. First ever SNF regular season win on NBC, blah, blah, blah. For those of you that haven't known, I've watched, I believe, like 251 straight Sunday Night Football games dating back to December 21st, 2008. So that's something that I, almost religiously watch is Sunday Night Football when it's on. I'm like, hey, I got to watch this game. It's, the big game. But it's funny how the last Bengals win up to this point ended up being on Sunday Night Football, and there was a lot of energy exude in that regard. Thrill destination, I know, Brady. Michigan fans, yeah, facts. COVID helped them a lot. And that's not me being a snarky Ohio State fan. That's being a realist. That's being an absolute realist. Back to the Bengals. It's wow. I mean, like, I'm almost lost for words when it comes to this, but it's just like, it could be worse. I could be a Commanders fan. I could be a Giants, Jets fan, Panthers fan. It could be much worse, I will say. Us Bengals fans have been pretty lucky over the last couple of years to have a lot of these tides turn and all that. Let's see. I don't like the fire Zach. We need a new OC and let him call. Yes, exactly, Boaz. Yeah, we need a new OC. I'll get a little more into that as well. So 5-3 on November the 5th. You lose a good game to the Texans. Texans are an upstart team, young team. CJ Stroud, awesome this year. He's already made his way. I don't want to put that burden on him in 1 year, but he is going to be an elite quarterback. He's playing like an elite quarterback right now, but for years to come, he will be a very elite quarterback. So, and then you lose to the Ravens. The sky fell that night. We all know that. There's a lot of bad things that happen. But when it's Jake Browning that walks out there, the Steelers game, they fire Matt Canada a couple days before. You would think, the defense played a fantastic stretch of about 4 games, I would say. And during the win streak, they were fantastic. They were not letting up things at all. And then, the floodgates just busted open. And there were a lot of holes that needed to be addressed, specifically safety with Nick Scott. And you replace him with Jordan Battle. And Jordan Battle's been really good. He's been one of the bright spots to this point. Again, my thoughts are trying to collect a lot of them. It's just, there's a lot of things I've seen over the last 10 to 12 days with this Bengals team that, a lot of negativity, a lot of talk about tanking, a lot of talk about, trying to make a crazy playoff push and everything. I'll say personally for myself as a fan, I've just the expectations are gone. They have let go of them for this season. The expectations are over. They're done for this season, is what I'll say. I'm never going to root for my team to lose football games. I'm never going to root for, but at this moment, it's more of an evaluation as a fan where it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not a coach or anything like that, but I'm like, hey, maybe this guy will make an impact. Maybe, just like cheering for some of these guys on this team. Obviously, I want all of them, to want to go on a crazy run, win these games, get to the playoffs. But, that's very, very, very slim chance of that all happening at once. It's been an absolute roller coaster of a season. You start at 1-3, you go 4-0, you lose your last 3. Who knows how many you lose down the stretch? Who knows how many you win down the stretch? But the main issues that I've seen over this period of time, and especially with Sunday, if you guys want to check out, Bengals blitz running through the jungle, I highly suggest that. They're doing their thing over there, doing a really good job over there. My guys over there, you got Brandon Harriet, Justin Lacey, Tim Lyons, Tim over here in the comments as well. The 3 things that I've noticed in this time frame is, I don't know what it is, man, but the coaching staff is not getting it. They're not understanding something, and like Tim said right here, but is it OC fault? Is it Zach's play calling? Again, we don't know. We don't know exactly who it is, but it's a collective effort. They on defense, we can't stop the run to save our life. That goes back to losing the line of scrimmage. Maybe you're at a disadvantage when you're playing, 4-down linemen and 2 backers and playing a nickel corner or Mike Hilton all the time. And it's a light box every single, not every single play, but a lot of these plays. But, that's here nor there. The run defense has been pathetic. It's been atrocious. You let teams that shouldn't run the football like that on you run the football like that on you. And that is a slow, painful death to watch a team run the football that well and then play action it and throw it over your head. So the Bengals have lost like all these games other than the injuries and stuff. So they got to figure that out when it's stopping the run. And then the creativity in running the football. This is a big one because when you're walking Jake Browning out there as he makes his first career NFL start and you throw him nearly 30 times, the Bengals didn't run a lot of plays on Sunday, I will say. Time of possession was not in our favor. But when you're out there not running the football effectively, not running the football enough, you got to look back at the creativity. You got to look back at the play callers. It's absurd that a guy like Joe Mixon takes a pay cut, averaging 4 yards a carry this season. I know people, want to look straight at the stats and everything, but I mean, everything's wrong with this run game. Everything is. Because you're also looking at the lack of involvement with guys like Travion Williams. Chase Brown's been hurt a little bit, but still lack of involvement there. Chris Evans has been in the doghouse, and we don't know why that is. Run the damn ball. Yep, that's Tim's trademark. But I agree 100%. They try this stupid trap scheme. It almost just looks like they try to wedge a lot of stuff. They were going to run up the middle and just see what happens. It's just, come on, man. Like, a little more creative with it, We don't have to run Mixon on pitches and all this, stretch stuff all the time because Mixon doesn't have that juice when it comes to that anymore. But Mixon can still go in between the tackles. You got to have guys getting to the second level. Our glass eaters are eating glass and getting cuts on their tongue. And they're just wanting Band-Aids and stuff. It's just like, what's going on? What is this? But the creativity, the line of scrimmage, everything has been very, very disappointing from the Cincinnati Bengals. And when you have an elite quarterback, it can cover up all of those holes that you have on your football team. It doesn't make any sense that with a great player that Joe Burrow is, when he was in there, that you couldn't effectively establish a run game to set him up. Don't walk him out there and throw him 50 times a game and just show off that we have a $275 million man that we can throw the football every single time and not have to worry about running the football. Well, damn it. Like, what sense does that make? When has it ever worked for a team to win a Super Bowl where it's just air raid, air raid, air raid? When has it ever worked for a team in the modern era? You got to be able to run the football sometime. You know? You have to. It's ridiculous that there's no creativity. There's no sense of trying to win the line of scrimmage. If you win the line of scrimmage, you're most likely going to win the football game. The key elements to winning a football game in the modern NFL are still, and I mean still, stopping the run, establishing the run, rushing the passer, and then getting ahead of the sticks and winning the turnover battle. It's been this way for a long time, but for some reason, we can't adapt to it. We can't. If there's a model, especially for a game this year, that the Bengals needed to go after, it was the San Francisco 49ers game. Numbers are not going to look like that all of the time. That was against a great defense, nonetheless. That defense had no injuries that we had to worry about or anything. It was, the offense, but that here nor there, who cares? When you're looking at it, you see what establishing a run game does for you. You see what it does. It opens everything up. The play action. You can spread it out at points and just be like, we're going to throw it. Now we're going to pitch in, mix in a little run for Joe Mixon, okay? Like, it's frustrating. It really is. Really frustrating at that fact. I'll get back to the Bengals in a second, but I do want to talk about a couple of the rivals in the division because I don't have high thoughts or high feelings for any of these teams in the National Football League in our division. I will keep it a buck with you, okay? The Ravens are a very good football team. They are. Ravens are a really good football team. Lamar Jackson playing good football. They're running the football really well. Keaton Mitchell, Gus Edwards, they've done a good job. They win the line of scrimmage a lot. Zay Flowers has been a standout this season. Rashad Bateman's elevated his play. Odell Beckham Jr., when he's not playing 15 snaps a game, hasn't been that bad. Guys are starting to elevate their play, and they're starting to mold into that offense pretty well. They're a tough team to stop. On defense, a lot of simulated pressures. Mike McDonald, former Michigan defensive coordinator, done a really good job with those guys. Roquan Smith's been active. He's been balling. Patrick Queen's been playing at an all-pro level. We all know this stuff. They can rush the passer with a multitude of guys. Their secondary has been flying around because they know that their pass rush, they can get home so they can play a little more aggressive. That's a lot of these teams in the AFC North. That's actually all of these teams, all of our division rivals in the AFC North. The Ravens are a really good football team. The jury's still out because, Lamar's 1-3 in the playoffs. We'll see what happens with all that when it comes to January. The number one seed right now, are they going to stay the number one seed? That's tough to answer because they have a tough schedule coming down the stretch, but it's going to be fun, and they'll be fun to watch in the playoffs. The Cleveland Browns, I think they're better. They're a better version of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Steelers fans are not going to like me saying that at all, or like anyone saying that at all. And I'll save my hatred, and not really hatred, but just critical analysis of the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second. But the Browns are but they're a hurt team. They got a lot of injuries, man, but they've been battling through it. They're honestly kind of the drunk Pittsburgh Steelers. They really are. They just shoot themselves in the foot. They're just kind of there, like, their defense can win them a lot of games, but when when it gets tough and an offense figures out the Cleveland Browns defense, because there have been some offenses that have done that. The Denver Broncos, for example, the Colts have figured it out before. The Ravens did one time. The Ravens did a couple times. When it comes to that, what are you going to come out with on offense? What's going to happen? That's the big question. I mean, it's slim pickings. And speaking of a guy named George Pickens on the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's been pretty good this year. I'll give the credit. And again, you are what your record says you are. Bill Parcells right there. The Steelers are a 7-4 football team. God knows how they are a 7-4 football team. Actually, you know how they're a 7-4 football team. They play a really, really ugly game of football. And they ask their offense to come through once or twice throughout the game, put the game on the defense, and the defense is ready and active to go. And the offense goes on ahead, maybe makes a drive or two. But I'm going to say this. If you're a Steelers fan and you are excited about this brand of football, oh my goodness, I feel for you. Actually, I don't feel for you because, do you seriously think that playing this way of football is going to result in Super Bowls? It'll result in you guys getting Mike Tomlin's, winning record streak alive. It'll, the Steelers haven't had a losing season since 2003, since I've been born. It'll keep that alive, but going 9-8 and being mediocrity, if you guys want to keep doing that, hey, be my guest. That's completely fine because the style of football that's being played by the Pittsburgh Steelers, that ain't it at all. That's not it. But again, I digress on it. I do. I would be lying if I said that it is really rough to see, a Bengals team that has Super Bowl aspirations, had injuries and some weird things that have happened throughout the season, have that stripped of us, and have every other team in our division come ready to play and probably all going to make the postseason. That is tough to watch. It definitely is. It's, it's been a big thing about it, but I just, wow. I haven't really just, grasped the fact of all of this yet, that, it's probably going to the Bengals are, not going to make the playoffs and everything like that. Feels like a mixture of a couple of seasons, like 2018 when the Bengals started 5-3 and then they go 1-7 down the stretch, a big injury to AJ Green before the bye week happened. So that feels similar. And you lose a week 10 home game, then you lose a week 11 game in Baltimore, and then you lose a week 12 game at home. And then you go from 5-3 to 5-6. That's very similar. It's a parallel there. 2019, you lost, obviously lost a ton of games that year. You lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers week 12, the same week as this one, and you lost 16-10, the exact same score. History repeats itself. And then 2020, the standpoint of Joe Burrow having a season-ending injury in the state of Maryland and getting hurt week 11, close to the same date from 3 years before, and having everyone in our division probably make the playoffs. So that grasp, just melding the seasons together. And I'm not going to say, it's been tough where it comes to the fact of there's Commanders fans, there's Jets fans, there's Giants fans. There's a lot of fans that have gone through a lot of different hardships over the last however many years. And it's been really bad stuff going on over there. But, I'm not going to complain that much. It's just the fact that the stuff that's been happening in a very short amount of time has been tough. Huge Bengals fan, big Ohio State fan. My second favorite team is the Lions, my brother's favorite team. I will say this before I move on. Who are we tanking for? I'm not going to embrace the tank just yet, but I don't even have it. I don't even know at this point. I really don't. Just, Bengals got to play football. You got to try to play to win, but we'll see. We'll see when the dust settles. We'll see where the Bengals sit at the end of the season. We'll see what happens. Um, and go from there. If it ends up being Brock Bowers, I would be a very, very happy camper. I'll tell you that. Brock Bowers in this offense with Joe Burrow would be nice. We got to be able to run the football, though. But Brock Bowers would be amazing. Quick stat that, in our household, 3 teams, Lions, Buckeyes, Bengals. This weekend, they all lost from Thanksgiving all the way to Sunday. Those 3 teams lost in a 4-day span. The last time that the Lions, Buckeyes, and Bengals lost in the same weekend was November 12th and 13th of 2011. 4,395 days in between those 2 things happening, where our entire household was just like, dang. My mom, dad, brother, me. Like, dang, it's tough. But again, I digress. But yeah, being a diehard fan, I'm never gonna root for my team to lose games because that it's not right. It just doesn't feel right at all. The one time I rooted for my team to lose games or a specific game in general was December 22nd of 2019 when the Bengals secured the number 1 overall spot and they ended up picking Joe Burrow. And it's been a fantastic pick so far. So that's the one time that I've actually, rooted for a loss. But, that's here nor there. Man. I needed this. The energy and fire, I don't think it encapsulated me. I almost went on a rant or 2, middle of the show and everything, but it didn't really capture me. I think I've kind of, come to grasp with it, and just see what happens moving forward as a fan. See what happens with the teams moving forward. That's a big thing. You can't let it affect your daily life. You just got to move forward with it and just see how guys and see how the teams rebound from it. So, a lot of metaphors in sports, a lot of metaphors of life that go on in sports. When you get knocked down, you got to get back up. Just other stuff, other filler words and quotes that you could just put out there. I mean, watching, a basketball game right now, Jimmy V, showing him up there. He's got some inspirational quotes. Just a lot of parallels when it comes to, sports and life. And, just when you get knocked down, got to get back up. So that's a big thing about it. But yeah, appreciate everybody coming in and watching the show, and everything. We'll be back with our normal stuff with, college football stuff, Bengals shows. We'll be back this week. A lot of good stuff over there. If you are still watching, haven't dropped a like on the video, we would really appreciate it if you would. Tell your friends about this if they are feeling the same way and they want to hear, perspective on it. If you guys ever want to talk about it, go on ahead, hit me up. Down to talk ball, down to talk anything. So, again, appreciate it. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate everybody tuning in and everything. Subscribe, like the video, stay up to date with us. We'll deliver some stuff. So we'll see you guys.